Hello and welcome back to Data News of the Week, the video where we go through all the different news and events that have happened this week that we couldn't squeeze into any other video. Before we go any further, I apologise for there not being a news video last week because of the Synology 2022 event, which largely dominated the channel for about 4 or 5 days. I didn't have time to squeeze in a news video, but come on, cut me some slack. That is news really in one shape or form. The other thing I want to talk about is this. I don't know about you guys that have been following this channel for a while. I think a very common conception for a lot of my videos is that they're awfully quiet. And the big reason for that is controlling all the noise in this studio, from mad seagulls to offices in the surrounding environment. I have to have a very closed field of dialogue for a lot of my videos, and it gets very tough when I've got stuff on the table. One company that have been watching these videos is a company called Tonor, based in China or Taiwan. Again, I apologise if I've got that wrong. They sent me a mic. I didn't ask for it, and there's no plug for it. They're not asking me to put a sponsorship thing, but they sent me a mic. And again, it's a great little doozy, this one. Again, I am hoping this is going to improve a lot of the dialogue on these videos for you guys out there. I've got a lot to play with. There's all kinds of kit with this, and again, they've not asked me to plug them, but I'm going to plug them anyway. Thank you so much for the mic. There's a link to them in the description. I looked on their website and they've got some weird little promo code thingy. I might put that in the comments. I've not decided yet, but again, thanks so much for spending the mic. But I think this is a long enough intro. Let's get straight into the news. First big story of the week, QNAP. Once again, there has been a vulnerability exposed on the QNAP NAS devices. This is being exploited by cryptocurrency miners that again are taking advantage of that opening, from what I understand, in non-updated devices. This seems to be a recurrent problem, from your Mushstick to your the QLocker to your eTorax, that sort of thing. But this isn't any kind of ransomware. This isn't any kind of malware. This is cryptocurrency miners using your system when it's idle to mine cryptocurrency to their benefit. Now, this is largely being defined as the OOM Reaper or ORM Reaper. It's a process that's running there silently in the background of your QNAP. Now, say silently, if you've got this thing running, you should notice. It's going to take up the lion's share of the processes in the background of your QNAP. And one quick look into the resource monitor of your QNAP and the active processes, it should be right there at the top in terms of CPU utilization. The OOM Reaper process, you can right click and kill that process if you choose. QNAP have already advised the usual: update all your firmware, change your passwords, or at least make sure they're as strong as possible, and as well as enabling two-step verification. We've been through this before. If you're using external connectivity, because you're going to need internet connectivity for this, make sure that you're not using those default ports that they always recommend, 443 and 8080. Again, this is something we've heard before, and again, QNAP are not the only brand out there that can be attacked by these things. One story I never got a chance to talk about last week was the Alpha Black Cat, or Alpha Black Cat kind of ransomware that's going to be floating around. It's already started cropping up in places, and there's already been reverse engineered listings of their target devices, and Synology is part of that target. It doesn't mean it succeeded, it means that that is what they're targeting. This is something that's going to be recurrent, at least on this occasion. It's to do with cryptocurrency mining rather than stopping you accessing your data. It doesn't make it good, it doesn't make it right, but nonetheless, this is less of a worry compared to the broader scope of malware and ransomware attacks that have happened to QNAP, Synology, all the NAS brands over the years. So again, update your firmware, get your systems as tight as possible, and if you can enable external connectivity, know what you are doing. Don't rely on defaults. Also, if you are worried about vulnerabilities and exploits opening up on your NAS system, it is worth highlighting that all of the NAS brands right now have their own security advisory panels listed on their own respective websites. QNAP, Synology, Acer Store, and WD and Seagate as well on a lot of their NAS systems too. But a lot of the time it's very hard to get notifications from these pages. You can set up change detection alerts, as well as kind of light-based RSS feeds. So what we've done on NAS Compares is we've created this giant kind of compound all listing of all of the current active vulnerabilities and security issues on top of all the different NAS brands. You go down, if you do want to be notified, you can chuck your email address in there. We don't do anything with it. All we do is let you know when these pages get updated. And as you can see, there's the latest QNAP ones in there, updated, as well as today, at the date of recording, the 10th of December. Some of these are small within individual applications. Some of them are system-wide. And a lot of them, if they're resolved, we tend to remove them from the list, or at least update them as on that list as resolved. There's lots of different ones on there, and we're adding them all the time. It's updated periodically. And of course, if you want to go to the website's own advisory panels, just click the open button there, or you can select it, and then you can see their own active, ongoing, or resolved vulnerabilities from each of those NAS brands. That should be linked in the description, and it'll detail, and you can update and make sure that you're kept abreast of all of these things as they happen. Next up, let's talk about Windows 11. Windows 11, of course, which has now been formally released for a few months. There have been reports that it is slightly throttling the performance of NVMe SSDs. Lots of comparisons on numerous websites have been showing that a lot of active users, and everything from Reddit to the more formal news pages, have been showing that a lot of the right performance in extensive testing, the likes of Crystal Disk, Atto and more, compared with exactly the same laid out storage drive and storage partition layout in Windows 10, was showing that Windows 11, particularly in write, but also in read, having dipped performance. Now, Windows 11 has already arrived to a slightly bumpy start with that AMD Ryzen CPU kind of issues early doors. That's largely been resolved, but this noticeable dip in performance and transfer rates on NVMe's for Windows 11. And let's be honest, NVMe's for boot drives is now pretty much a normal thing. This isn't like a quirky one-shoot thing. This should have been picked up a lot earlier during troubleshooting and early beta and alpha development. Is a bit of a worry. Now, Microsoft have still not formally addressed this. They've not said, we've noticed a problem, we're working on a fix. They've just said nothing to it currently at the time of recording this video. Now, again, a few little caveats to bear in mind there. First and foremost, the performance tests that have been done with Crystal Disk, Atto, AS, SSD and more, these are synthetic. These do not represent typical workloads. These are artificially created test measures. However, it's the same artificially created test measure on Windows 10 and Windows 11. So the anomaly is still very present there. Also, a few active and high-profile users have mentioned that when they've been utilizing the first partition or a single thread test mechanic, the performance dip has been quite minimal. But the minute they move on to secondary and tertiary partitions or introduce more threads, suddenly the problem kind of escalates further. And not just in a simple multiplied way, but in noticeable degrees. So again, this is something, I don't know about you guys, have you installed Windows 11? No, me neither. I don't know about you, I was going to wait till minimum a year before I move my workload over to Windows 11. And this is kind of one of those reasons why I'd want to hold back, because little issues like this are so easy for typical users to never see. So hopefully we will see a slightly more formal resolution to this from Microsoft. Next up, in the world of hard drives, kind of mixed news here. Toshiba have launched their 18 TB enterprise hard drive series. So on the one hand, yay, 18 TB enterprise hard drives. On the other hand, let's not overlook the fact that WD and Seagate have just launched their 20 TBs. What's going on there? But this is their 9-platter microwave-assisted magnetic recording hard drive there. They're also using their own flux controller. This is the way they kind of balance the load there across those 9 platters and get that level of performance, FCAMMR. This is a 7200 RPM drive with 512 megabytes of cache with a reported 268 megabytes per second transfer speed. Now, I'm talking about this drive for two reasons. One, because a lot of you do still use Toshiba hard drives. They are by no means the biggest brand in the market for hard drives. They're definitely on the podium, perhaps, but still, nonetheless, the main reason I'm talking about it is I'm willing to bet within the first half of 2022, maybe even the first quarter, I can 100% see Synology launching their own 18 TB hard drives, because they're well known to be utilizing the MN series from Toshiba for their enterprise hard drive, the HDD 5300s, and this being the MN09 only naturally makes me think that Synology will then launch their 18 TB very, very soon. And finally, something for you Mac users. Yes, the Windows and the Linux users can jump on board here, but this is predominantly aimed at the Macs. This is an NVMe DAS system that multiple users can connect with. Now, this is something that was kind of bounced around in the background throughout the whole course of the year. A company called IODYNE, and this is their Pro Data system, a 12 NVMe storage system with 8 Thunderbolt 3 USB Type-C ports. Now, this is a biggie, not only because it supports those traditional RAIDs, focusing predominantly here on RAID 0 and RAID 6 on this system for performance, but this system also has the ability to support up to 4 simultaneous connected users. Now, this is via the system of creating multiple containers that live within the larger storage area volume. These containers will support encryption, AES-XT, 256 bit encryption. On top of that, these multiple containers, you can have up to 15 storage containers for active users to work with. There's no real word on simultaneous connectivity there, nothing really in demonstration terms. Hopefully I'm going to be looking a lot more about on a product like this in 2022, because I think the idea of Thunderbolt users having a DAS system they can all interact with is a lot rarer than you think. Now, you know, when we talk about this sort of subject, we obviously then err back towards QNAP and their Thunderbolt NAS series that allowed multiple Thunderbolt users to work with it. But because of that IP architecture built into the NAS side of things, it always made the performance dip slightly. Whereas IODYNE is saying here with the Pro Data that that's not going to be an issue here, and these connected users are going to be able to really take advantage of that huge bandwidth potential of both the NVMe's throughout this system, which I believe are Gen 3 x 4, but I'm curious how that's going to affect with that software on chip, that SoC inside there. And they also mentioned that this system has SSD health monitoring, wear monitoring and stuff like that. There isn't all good news on this. There is, you know, something I'm less keen on. It only arrives populated. If you want to buy it, it comes pre-populated with NVMe's directly from the brand. Now, I say directly from the brand. They didn't go into a lot of details from what I could see about what the SSDs that are going inside are. Are they Samsungs? Are they WDs? Are they Seagates? I'm not sure. But I'm always slightly called off by anything where it arrives only populated. The option of populated or unpopulated, that's great. You can get it in 12 TB or 24 TB versions. And again, I still think 24 TB on this 12 NVMe system, that means every NVMe is 2 terabyte. We've got 4 terabyte NVMe's in the market right now. So again, that feels like a little bit of clipping of the wings there. I'm genuinely intrigued by this device because I think it's going to fill a still to this day unsupported place in the market between NAS and DAS, with QNAP sort of filling that role, but not. It's still more DAS than it is, still more NAS than it is DAS. So I'm really hoping to see where they go with this Pro Data device. But this has been Data News of the Week. I hope you enjoyed this. Again, click subscribe and the bell to be notified. And of course, I will see you next week.